last video addressed the failure of my ability to burn out PVC pipe. I thought I could do it, but I can't. So it was a total waste. We ended up not saving anybody anything. But being a sport, he made us a new original and made out of wood this time instead of PVC. And I've burned that wood before, so I thought, you know, cake. We'll do it again. I'll invest the wood. We'll burn out the wood. So we made it. I invested it. I burned out the cup, took the hook out, and put it in the kiln and fired it, and it looked pretty good. So we rinsed out the soot with water and went back in the kiln for a long time at a high temperature, and then I poured it. I thought it was clean, and the pour went really well. No soot, no splatter, and everything was lovely until we broke it open. But everything was not lovely. There was still plenty of char in the mold. It did not react with the molten bronze in any way. It just left cavities. And I tried welding it, but it was just bad. It wasn't going to work. It was another failure. Feeling pretty crappy about this time because we had received two good originals and I had botched them both. Being the sport he is, Randy went ahead and made one more original for us, and I decided we had saved enough money, so we were going to go ahead and make a proper rubber mold. Here are the originals, number 3, and we're going to make a rubber mold so that we can pour wax and get the wax out without damaging it. And rubber's not strong enough to hold its shape, so it's going to need a mother mold. And the whole trick to all this is to be able to pour the wax and then be able to get the mold out without damaging the wax. Wax is a difficult subject. It wants to stick to everything, and it's not very strong. So that's the challenge.
This is going to be the core for the middle of these pieces, and I've got a wedge shape in the middle so I can pull it out and get some release some tension so I can get the other two pieces out. And I'm going to glue them back together with brown paper between them, turn them cone shaped, and then break them apart. They should break where the paper is. And when I pour the rubber, I think I'll only have them together with maybe Scotch tape or something, so it won't be too hard to.
Now the blocks are glued back together with brown paper in the glue joint. That'll allow me to break it open later without damage. I don't have a lathe, so I kind of rounded this thing off with the table saw and the belt sander, but I did. Now the cone is totally wrapped with Scotch tape to keep the rubber from sticking to it. It is fastened to this little mold, and you can see this is the original. You can see in the mold are 2 long screws or 4 long screws from the side. They will suspend the original above the floor of the mold so that rubber can get under it and in it. What I did was poured the base, let it set for a little while, and set the PVC form for the upper part, and then poured the upper part. So the rubber for the upper part and the base are one and the same. They're stuck together. Here the rubber's cured, the top part is removed, and then this is the little tricky part because the cone is taped together and I can't pull the wedge out. But that's the difference between dealing with something that's structural and dealing with wax. If this was wax, there was no way I would be able to get it apart without breaking something. But since this is, I don't really know what it is. I think it's cardboard tube. I can really put a lot of force on it. So I was able to just manhandle the cone and get it out of there. Now, after this, when I pour wax, we'll be able to split the wedge, and that will enable me to get the center mother mold cone out without damaging the waxes. So I had to wrestle with it for a little while, but I got it apart, and it looks good. The rubber's good, and the cone is going to work just fine. So we're ready to split the cone into its 3 parts, lightly tape it together with Scotch tape, put the mold back together, and pour a wax. So the mold is together. The base is weighted down so the wax doesn't float the board up. The white PVC is actually the mother mold for the exterior, and the tapered cone is on the inside. Here they're poured, and my pour cups are poured in the background, and let them set and get good and hard, and then we try to pull them apart and see how we did. We did good. They came out well. This base has a little cavity from lack of a vent, but the wedge pulled out, the rubber mold pulled out. We got good detail all the way around. The top edge is rough where it's poured, but that's okay. That gets cut off. I've got a good pair of waxes here. Kind of, you know, hindsight's 20/20. We should have done this from day one. So for the third time, we make a ceramic shell mold and burn it out, melt the bronze, pour the bronze. That's the fun part of having a bronze foundry is the heavy work. And then we pour them, and then when it cools, you break them open, and it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But 3 times the charm. Got good casts. No problem with either one of them. Cut the sprues and risers off. Give it a blasting in the bead blast cabinet, and per our original negotiation with Mr. Randy, he's going to do all the finish work. I just had to send him some casts, and he sent me back pictures, and they are lovely finished. So Mr. Randy has designed a mast hinge for his Grand Banks that, when vertical, has a male-female joint, very strong, and then it has the added advantage of folding forward or backwards. It's simple, very few moving parts. He did a beautiful job finishing it, and he's been a trooper from the beginning, because this has been a long, drawn-out process, and he never wavered.